we're more supposed to be discussing what we do now that we have assessment information to differentiate, like how we differentiate with the information, or how do we know we need to differentiate? Does that make sense, the difference in questions?
I know how I interpreted it, like I looked at one assessment report today, we went over distributive property and I just did a quick exit slip at the end of the class period. And I noticed that, you know, eventually that all students got the distributive property questions correct, except for a couple that had negative numbers in it, multiplying through by a negative. So to me, that kind of said, okay, well, they're not having maybe trouble with distributive property. It's more this, you know, integer skill, integer operations, and I might need to pull that group and differentiate that a little bit. So that's how I interpreted it. I don't know if that's correct or not.
So you looked at the reason, you looked at their answers of why they were getting it wrong and differentiated that way.
Yes, I looked at, yeah, using the most common wrong answers, and I noticed, okay, they're multiplying, they're just getting the wrong signs. So they know the process of how to use distributive property. They're just getting the calculations wrong because of integer rules.
I think with that too, a lot of comments in the when we were all together was talking about looking at the time frame. I think the time that they spend on the assignment is really good to look at too. So if you see that students are taking a lot of time on it, maybe we could grab those students and do a small group and have other students move on to something else or start the next content or do another assignment or do a skill builder. I hate to be redundant, but if you see that these students are taking a longer amount of time, that's also a piece of data that we can see straight from the report. And then we pull them aside. Maybe then when we're doing that pull out, that pull aside, maybe we're not necessarily using assessments, but we're using the data that we received from assessments to be able to make those changes and modifications in order to get everyone on the same page.
So I've looked at the time on ours more than once, and I don't feel like the time is great indicator for my students. So we are a one-to-one school. Every student checks out a Chromebook and they have the Chromebook all year. And so they all like to keep all their tabs open all day long. So they go from math to English and now they're working on English and their math tab's still open. So I've looked at time before and I'm like 3 hours or this long. And like, I feel like for my school specifically, our time data is really skewed. Because I think they just leave it open where it's not like shut down because math is over. So I guess what I could do is like, you know, 1 minute left. Okay, exit out so that they go back into it when they're home doing homework, or I don't know. So it's more accurate. I've been trying to do that because I feel like the time gives a lot away. Are they using correct time? Is it taking too long? But when they're all 4 hours plus, and I know this kid didn't do 4 hours of homework.
Yeah, that's hard. It would be nice if it had one of those. Are you still, you know, like Netflix? Are you still watching? Like there's been inactivity for a while. Are you still?
Yeah, or like logged them out after such long of not answering a question, or I don't know. And maybe that's just something I can do as a teacher is just get into the habit of the last minute of class while we're cleaning up. Don't just shut your Chromebook and leave all your tabs open, exit out and go back into it so that time's more accurate.
I think it really depends on what you're using assessments for. For me, I personally have them doing it like exit tickets. So what I do is I schedule it via, do you use Google Classroom? No. Okay. So I don't know what other system you would use, but for Google Classroom,
I can. The other one's Canvas.
Okay. I can schedule the assignment to go out at a specific time. So if I know that my A period starts at 8:05, that assignment isn't going to them until 8:05. If I know I have them at 12:05, I'm going to send it to them at 12:05. So they can't start it in their other classes and open it. And then we're going to do our content. We're going to do our lesson. And then I'll make sure that the last 5 to 10 minutes, okay, this is the time that we're doing this one specific assignment. And you're going to stay here and you're going to do it until you submit it. And once that time period is over, that class period or whatever allotted time that you give for them is over, I just have them submit whatever they have. I'm like, this is what you know, and this is what you don't know. That's kind of how I use it, is just for like the exit slips or like practice problems, which are things done specifically in class. I don't really use it for homework per se. I want to see what is happening in real time. So that's how I get that time frame to be actually accurate, because I see them doing it and they're sitting right in front of me when it's happening.
So do you grade it?
Yes. So the section of grades would be like, we have graded classwork, homework. So it goes into like that kind of section. So I would still grade it as like a normal assignment, but I don't send it home with them for homework.
So whatever they get done in class, you're now done.
Correct.
Okay. How do you find the kids that like aren't using their time well versus kids don't understand? I feel like that would be really hard if you only have 5 to 10 minutes to do it. How do you catch the kids that don't understand or just refuse to work?
I personally have a smaller group of students, so I kind of know which ones usually don't understand and which ones are just off in La La Land staring away. So I make sure to kind of, when they're doing this, I walk around and give some nonverbal cues to the students who are just off in La La Land, or I'll stop and I'll check in with certain students I know that need extra help to be able to have those kind of consulting small moments with them to try to get them to a result by the end of that time frame. But still, the time frame shows me if they finished it in 1 minute or if they finished it in 10 minutes. I still feel like that is a big deciding factor of, do they understand it or do they not?
No, I like that. Thanks for sharing.